Dear friends, good morning to all of you. Today we will read a poem written by John Milton on his blindness. First of all, we should have a brief introduction of the poet John Milton. John Milton was born in London on December 9, 1608 into a middle class family. He was educated at St. Paul's School, then at Christ College, Cambridge, where he began to write poetry in Latin, Italian, and English and prepared to enter the clergy. Students, you know that Milton is well known for his English poem, The Paradise Lost, which is one of the best known poems written by John Milton. Other known poems of Milton is Lycidas, and many sonnets also are written by Milton, and On His Blindness is one of them. Milton wrote some of the dramas also, including Arcades, Comus, and non-fiction works includes The Doctrine and Discipline of Divorce and Areopagitica. So, Milton was not blind from his birth. He lost his sight at the age of 44 while he was working for the King Cromwell. He lost his eyesight at the age of 44. So in this poem, Milton is worrying about his duties towards God. He is thinking that how he will perform his duties towards God if he is not having his eyesight. So let us have a brief introduction of the poem. The poem is a personal sonnet. It is written in Petrarchan form and it follows iambic pentameter. The rhyme scheme of the poem is A B B A B B A C D E C D E. This poem is autobiographical, as we have already discussed, personal sonnet or autobiographical sonnet, in which he expresses his feelings as a blind person. He thinks in the beginning that he will not be able to serve God as his sight is gone. He is totally blind at the age of 44, and now he is thinking that how he will perform his duties towards God. That is why he is worrying. He is asking the questions to himself and to God, that what will be his future, how he will perform his duties towards God. So let us know what a sonnet is, as we have just discussed that it is a sonnet. And what a sonnet is, we should know first. A sonnet is a poem in a specific form which originated in Italy, and it has a fixed rhyme scheme, and it is written in 14 lines. Mainly there are two kinds of sonnets. One is Petrarchan sonnet or Italian sonnet, and second one is the Shakespearean sonnet or the English sonnet. This one is a Petrarchan sonnet. The sonnet was created for Giacomo da Lentini, head of the Sicilian school. The most famous early sonneteers was Petrarch. That is why it is known after his name, Petrarchan sonnet. The structure of a typical Italian or Petrarchan sonnet includes two parts. First part is composed in 8 lines, that is known as octave, and the last 6 lines of the poem are known as sestet. The 9th line in the poem, which indicates a change in the mood of the poet, is known as volta. This Petrarchan kind of sonnet follows the rhyme scheme A B B A C D E C D E, or sometimes it is C D C C D C, but this one is having C D E C D in the sestet. Another sonnet, that is English sonnet or Shakespearean sonnet. When English sonnets were introduced by Thomas Wit in the 16th century, his sonnets and those of his contemporary Earl of Surrey were chiefly translations from the Italian of Petrarch and the French of Ronsard and others. While Witt introduced the sonnet into English, it was Surrey who developed the rhyme scheme AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG. Here we came to know that Witt introduced sonnet into English language, into England, and it was Surrey who developed a different rhyme scheme from the Petrarchan sonnet. The rhyme scheme for English sonnet is AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG, which now characterizes the English sonnet or the Shakespearean sonnet. Now let us have the text of the today's poem on his blindness. We will read it first and then we will explain it line by line. On his blindness, when I consider how my light is spent ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve there with my Maker and present my true account, lest he returning child doth God exact day labor light denied. I fondly ask, but patience to prevent, that murmur soon replies, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts, who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly, thousands at his bidding speed, and post over land and ocean without rest. They also serve whom only stand and wait. Let us have a look over the difficult words included in the poem, the meaning of these words. In the first line, we find a word consider. Consider means to think about something carefully. Light here means eyesight. Spent means used over his life, how the life is spent or used. Ere, before. Talent, ability to write. Lodged, registered or submitted. Maker, God. Chide, to criticize, to rebuke. Lest, in order to prevent something from happening. Doth is the old form of do. So these are the difficult words. If we know the meaning of these words, we will be able to understand the poem in a better way. Light denied means lost sight, fondly, affectionately, patience, the ability to stay calm, prevent, to stop something, murmur, to say something in a soft, quiet voice, mild yoke, obedient to God, bidding, requesting for someone to do something. Let us have the line by line explanation of the poem. When I consider how my light is spent ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent. The speaker is reflecting upon how his light, how his eyesight has been used over his life. This could also refer to the speaker's spiritual light, thinking about Milton's religious ideology. But we will take here as the eyesight, not as the spiritual light. So, in the first line, the poet is thinking that how his eyesight used over the passing of time, how he used his eyesight in writing something over his life. Ere half my days in this dark world and wide. The speaker has spent half of his life blind, meaning he knows what it means to see and feels loss at his sight being taken away. Here the poet is worrying about his lost eyesight. Half of his life is spent already, and he did his duties well towards God. Now he is worrying about rest of his half life. He is worrying how he will perform the duties towards God. What will he do in this rest of his life? So this is the point of his worry. And that one talent which is depth to hide. Here the one talent is speaker's ability to writing something. So now he is worrying that in the case of his lost eyesight, how he will be able to write something, how he will be able to write something for God, how he will perform his duties towards God. Lost with me, useless, though my soul more bent. Now the speaker, the poet, feels that his loss of sight has left him useless, because without eyesight he will not be able to see anything, and in that case he will not be able to write anything at the same time. That is why writing is his profession or his interest, and the only work he can do better is writing something for God. Now he is not be able to write something for God. That is why he is worrying that what will be the use of his life in case he doesn't have his eyesight. So this is the point. In the octave, first 8 lines, the speaker worries about, put some question, put some problem in a Petrarchan sonnet, and in the last 6 lines we will find some solution for the proposed question or problem. So in the first stanza we find that the poet is worrying about his eyesight. He tells us that he has lost his eyesight, and he also thinks about the days he has lived through his life, and how he has spent the days in writing something for God. Now he is worrying that in case of his lost eyesight, how he will be able to perform his duty towards God. So that is the point of his worry. Let us know what happens next. In the next stanza, second stanza, we find next 4 lines. To serve there with my maker, here maker means God. To serve there with my maker and present my true account, lest he returning chide, doth God exact day labor, light denied, I fondly ask, but patience to prevent. These 3 lines refers to the speaker's desire to write or to praise God, but his lost eyesight, he feels as if he cannot do either. Neither he can write something nor he can praise God. So that is why he is worrying. He says that to serve there with my maker and present my true account means the writer, the poet wants to write something for God. So that is his desire, that is his wish, that he should write something for God. But he thinks that he will be rebuked because he is not able to write anything, because he has lost his eyesight. The speaker is asking to God if God expects him to work given his lost sight. In the 3rd line, he is asking a question to God. Doth God exact day labor light denied? Means if the God is expecting him to work still in case he is not having his eyesight. He in a modest way asks the question, but patience to prevent. But patience denies him to ask furthermore. So, in the first 3 lines, he is just expressing his wish, his desire that he wants to serve God, the maker of the world, and he wants to write something for God. But he feels rebuked because he is not able to write something for God. That is why he asks a rhetorical question. He puts a rhetorical question against in front of God and asks him if still he is expecting something from him in case he has lost his eyesight. So he fondly asks this question. At the same time, patience prevents him that have patience, stop here only, and you will find some solution to this problem. So in the first 8 lines, we find that the poet is suffering from his eyesight, lost eyesight, and he is not able to write anything, but he desires to write something. So the problem is that he has lost his eyesight. In the second part of the poem, that is sestet, we will find some solution to the proposed problem. So let us proceed towards the sestet. The murmur soon replies, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly, thousands at his bidding speed, and post over land and ocean without rest. They also serve who only stand and wait. So here in this estate, there are 2 stanzas, each of 3 lines. In these 6 lines, we find a solution for the proposed problem. In these lines, the speaker receives the reply. He has asked for. Patience replies to the speaker. That murmur, that soft, quiet sound, soon replies to the poet. God doth not need either man's work. Means God does not expect any work from man's side, or he doesn't expect any gifts from man. Who best bear his mild yoke, means the one who perform the duties towards God, who just praises God, simply obedient to God. The one who is simply obedient to God, they serve him best. Means the only thing for the poet to be obedient to God, he need not to worry about his duties. His state is kingly, God's state is kingly. Thousands at his bidding speed, and post over land and ocean without rest. Here the mankind is able to spread God's message to the other creatures in the world, in the land, equally in the ocean. So the mankind's work is to spread God's messages from one place to another. That is the only thing. The man should be obedient to God. If he does so, he is doing his duties in a good way, and God is happy with him. They also serve who only stand and wait. So it is more important to praise God. The poet is saying that it is more important. Patience replies to the poet that it is more important for the man to praise God, or to just simply pass his messages from one place to another instead of doing nothing. Means the only thing that we can do is to pass over the messages of God from one place to another, from one person to another, from one creature to another. And we should be obedient to God. If we do so, we are doing our duties well. So God is happiest when God's words are spread over ocean and land, and man is obedient to God. So here we find the answer to the proposed problem. The proposed problem was that the poet doesn't have his eyesight, and he wants to write something for God. That was the problem. And the answer is that the poet need not to do any specific duty. The things he can do is to be obedient to God, and to just the messenger of God's words on the earth. Then if he does so, he is doing his duties well. That is the only thing the God is expecting at his side, at his end. So here we find a solution. I hope that you understood the literal meaning of the poem, and you will enjoy this poem once you understand its meaning. In the true sense, it is very right that whatever we can do for the betterment of mankind, for the betterment of the living beings, we should do at our place. We need not to do any specific duties for God. That is the message of the poem. I hope that you enjoyed this poem. Thank you. Have a good day.